second. Actually, might not need this light. Give me a second, y'all. Ah! See? There we go. I don't think I need this light as bright as it is. Much better. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Uncaped Mama Podcast. I am going live today to talk about something that quite literally happened this morning within the last few hours, and I thought it would be a good time to dust off some of the research that I did and talk about this. So I have, when you see me looking down, I'm looking at my computer, and I really should have had a stand. Whatever, here we are. But if you see me looking down on my computer, I am looking at the notes that I put together so that I don't go off track. And I also pulled the research that I did on this very topic not too long ago, honestly, within the last couple of years, when I just saw the back and forth online about it and decided, let me figure out like what, experts actually say about this topic. And so this one's personal, but I always try to keep it real on my podcast. And I think that this is something that will benefit a lot of families. So let me jump into it. Today, we are talking about screen time. And I'm going to give a balanced viewpoint on it from my perspective. So I'm going to tell you what experts say, what people say, and all that sort of thing. And this is really coming from a video I literally recorded this morning and posted. It was 25 seconds of of my daughter, and I'll get into that as we keep going. But I just realized that wow, my daughter, watching her tablet for 30 minutes and me posting a 25-second clip of a portion of that really made somebody shame me. And another mom took up for me, a stranger, someone I don't even know, right? I ultimately ended up blocking the shaming mom. But I just want to talk about this topic. And so I clapped back a little bit. And then I decided I can clap back even more with facts, and well-balanced facts at that, from multiple perspectives. So this is what I'm going to do. So we're going to dig into the research, the myths, the talking points, the mixed messages, and why screen time deserves a real conversation and a non-judgmental one. And this conversation is not as black and white as the internet would have you to believe. So here's what happened. My daughter and I were in the car waiting on my son to get out of occupational therapy. And she had her tablet, and I realized she had also pulled out this little BlackBerry phone that my brother gave her. And so she looked like she was in her little office. So I literally kind of pan back so you could see her, and I pan back to me, and I added some captions. I posted on TikTok, it's cool. Post on Instagram. A friend from college is like, oh my goodness, is that a BlackBerry? I'm like, yes. And then very quickly after that, this person comes from out of nowhere and has a lot to say. Literally before I could read the first long comment, she had posted a second one, and made a lot of assumptions about me, told me, that I'm playing influencer, that I half-ass posted a video, it was harmful to people. And I'm like, 25 seconds, right? Okay. So I just feel like what this woman was saying was pushing this perfect parenting, these talking points onto me and onto any other mom who was maybe going to look at it. And for me, I'm sick of that shame, especially because what I've seen and talked to experts about when it comes to screen time is not that clear. Now, if y'all want to go see the post, it's still up. It's on my Instagram page, same name as I have on here. You'll see it. You will not see the woman's comments because I ended up blocking her. It got to the point where I told her at this point it is harassment. And so I'm blocking you. And I always have the choice to block. You always have the choice to block people as well. I also realized, why am I explaining something to this lady? This doesn't make any sense. Shout out to Haley. I don't know her personally, but she also came in the comments. She called it out, and I appreciated that. So I just want to dig into this some more. Again, when you see me look down, I got my computer because I pulled out my research and my talking points because I'm nerdy. So here are what experts actually say about screen time. So the AAP, that's the American Academy of Pediatrics, has some guidelines. So I'm going to read those to you. They say that overall, screen time is okay as long as it is intentional, it's age appropriate, and it's not replacing like their real world interactions, right? So it has a place in today's world as long as all your kids, if all your child is doing is interacting with screen time and games and stuff like that, like it's going to be harmful. But that's for anybody at any age. If we only spend our time as adults on screens, it is going to be harmful. We can see that actually, like in people. And so here are some other guidelines. For children under 18 months old, avoid screens except if there's like a video chat. 18 to 24 months, high quality shows, and make sure you're viewing it with your kids, which I absolutely do. It's why I knew all their shows by heart and all the songs by heart. 2 to 5 years old, limit to 1 hour a day and co-view when possible. And over 6, set healthy limits, and balance is key. Now, here's a little bit of nuance in here and some things that I was told. Under 18 months old, and really under 2 years old, children don't necessarily like learn from what they are seeing on a screen based on their age and their brain development, right? So it may be entertaining, but they may not be learning anything. And so when I did screen time with my son, when I was a new parent and we watched things on TV a couple times a day, I watched it with him. I wanted to decide like if this was something like he was going to watch or not. My kids did not get tablets until my brother bought them a year ago. And they didn't really understand how to use them or even really want to use them until maybe 6 months ago. So these are not tablet children who like this is all that they do. And also my children go to schools and therapies that are technology free. So it's super balanced. We still get out and play. They play at the house. There's an abundance of other toys. There's even other toy options in the car. It's actually really rare that I take their tablets in the car. I did today because my son had therapy and my daughter had to wait because we left the house late. And so she needed to wait before she could go to daycare. Normally she would be dropped off and she'd be good to go. We left late. He needed to get to his appointment on time. I grabbed the tablet on the way out of the door so she didn't have to sit there and kind of like stare off into space for 30 minutes. That's not great for a toddler, right? In the backseat of the car while we're waiting for therapies. So that to me is intentional time. And also she is learning from it. She's literally teaching herself or has taught herself Spanish. She can use it in context outside of the tablet. She has no issue socializing and playing. She has no issues with language development or anything like that, right? So those are those pieces. I'm going to dig a little bit more into what the American Academy of Pediatrics says about these guidelines. So the NIH research says that more than 2 hours of screen time is linked to lower cognitive scores. And then JAMA Pediatrics says speech delays are found in toddlers with more screen exposure. And there was a Canadian study that said more than 1 hour a day is linked to behavioral challenges. Now, these are just some studies. These things, as we know with research studies, do not apply to every single person. So again, I was very, and still am, very cautious about how long they're on screens. I take them away from my kids after a certain amount of time, and I will offer them another toy, a book. We'll go outside, or it's nap time, or it's time to eat, or, you know, like as we're transitioning to a different activity. But I can say it really may depend on the child. We haven't had any behavioral challenges. You know, my son has autism and has speech delays, but like I told you, he didn't even have a tablet before He was 2, and he just started using it, like I said, like 6 months ago. He did not understand them when he saw them. When we tried to introduce them, he would push it away because he didn't get it. He played with a lot of other toys, and he still does. He still plays with his blocks and all those things. So his speech delays are not linked to screen time because he really wasn't having any. And if we watched TV together, it was Bluey every night. And I loved it. Or we might watch Sesame Street for a few minutes in the morning, something like that, but it wasn't anything major. Now, there's also some physical and mental health risks, sleep disruption, because of blue light. You can put on a everyone's phone, for the most part. If you have a smartphone, there should be a blue light filter option. Mine is on right now. I have it on my tablet, and I even have another screen on it to protect my eyes because of my poor vision. That has nothing to do with tablets. It's been that way since I was 1, and there were no tablets in 1986. And so I have those filters on my work computer, on my laptop, on my phone, and it's also on my kids' tablets. So that can help. And if you feel like you want even more protection, there are things out there that you can add that will support. And then also for adults, of course, blue light glasses help, especially if you wear contacts, or if you wear glasses, there may be a way for you to get blue light added in when you go and get your prescription glasses. That's totally something to ask about. Every little bit helps. Another health risk, childhood obesity. That's just for you, like having a sedentary lifestyle, snacking, not really moving your body, not moving around. You're just sitting and you're on a screen all day. And again, that's exactly what we're finding with people who are adults who sit at their desks all day, right? And snack, and maybe they have a working lunch where they're just like eating at the computer. They're not moving their body. And so that's where 10,000 steps, right, came in, and wanting people to move their bodies more often to counteract this. So my kids are super fit, because we run around and play around all the time. But that is something, like, right, that you want to make note of. And then lastly, mood and attention concerns. Sometimes, if that's all they're doing is like staring at small clips of videos, their attention span is super small. Now, same for adults who will tell you, like, I don't want to read that whole post, or they'll only watch the first 3 seconds of a video. Like, you have to capture someone's attention right now, is what social media experts are saying, in the first second and a half. If you have not captured their attention in a second and a half, people are going to scroll. And so I would say that's probably a wider cultural problem that we just need to be aware of. If you're gonna watch content, you're gonna have to do things to kind of exercise that muscle for you to have a higher attention span. So that's going to be reading books and engaging in activities that last longer than a couple of minutes, and all of those things. It's the exact same way that we do when we're teaching kids school. How we start with sitting for a few minutes, and then next thing you know, by the time you're in college, whether you like it or not, for the most part, you're able to sit in a lecture. You can at least understand that I need to sit here for 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on the day of the week and your school and your schedule. Whereas getting a child to sit that long, that's not happening. No. A toddler? Absolutely not. Right? So you have to work on that. That behavior has to be taught and then practiced. And so I would say it's the same thing for adults. But those are some of the cognitive, behavioral, physical, and mental health risks or concerns when it comes to screen time. And so I have a quote here. This is from, who's this from? This is from a pediatrician. Sorry, I'm going to look off because I'm a real person here. Screens can absolutely affect development, but we need to ask, what's being watched, how is it being used, and whether there's balance. I changed the font color on this, which is ridiculous. So sorry about that. So this pediatrician talks about balance. So I want to talk about some opposing views and like emerging research that I saw that got me to think about this differently after I started seeing a bunch more content around screen time and did like a hard and fast rule about it. And so I thought that this was important because if you think about it, at least for my high school and my college experience, when we were writing papers and doing research, you were required to look for opposing viewpoints so that you could more holistically understand an issue and a topic and build your opinion on it, and round out your paper and your study. And so I thought that this was important for me as well as I'm thinking about this topic of screen times and a lot of other topics, right? So I don't think that this is shared enough. So that's why I wanted to add this to this video. So first of all, some experts say that the limits people are put on screen time are too rigid. So Dr. Sonia Livingstone from the London School of Economics talks about this and says, sorry, y'all, I do not know why I changed this font to gray. I forgot I was going to be sitting in front of this light. So Dr. Sonia Livingstone says focusing only on screen time overlooks content and context, right? So that matters. There is a 2020 study that was published that found no direct correlation between screen time and poor mental health outcomes. What it said is actually, it's really about what children are doing and whether they feel supported. And so to me, that means like, what are you doing online? Is it being monitored? Are you supported by your parents or the people who are taking care of you? Are they interested or at least paying attention to what you're doing? And sometimes I get made fun of by friends and family because they're like, how do you know all these episodes or all these songs or all of these like characters, right, that your kids are looking at? I'm like, because I watched it with them. Whenever I hear something like new, because now they can move their little fingers around and find new videos, I'm literally standing right there and I'm watching it. Or I may hold it and put it in front of me and we're kind of looking at it side by side. I am asking questions about what they saw. Even my son, who's not talking, I do the same thing with him. For my daughter, when we leave the house or we're walking around the house, I'm pointing to objects and asking her, what is that? What color is that? What color is that in Spanish? And she's able to tell me that. So I think that that context matters. And me also, this may be the former teacher in me or just the nerd in me, but like pulling things off of paper, off of the tablet, off of the screen, like bringing those things to life outside of a cartoon or a show or a book or anything like that is super important for kids and people to understand, like contextually, because a cartoon tree doesn't look like a real tree specifically, like when we get into the details. And so I want my kids to, yes, be able to tell me that that's a bird on this Mickey Mouse Clubhouse episode, but I also want you to recognize when we see a bird that is red outside, I want you to know, right? Like, this is what the tweet, tweet, tweet sounds like from these birds, or the chirp. That's what it sounds like, right? So now instead of my daughter saying moo, she goes because she's heard a real cow make the sound that they make because she's seen that in context, right? So, you know, I think that all these things are important. And I think that that's what Dr. Sonia Livingstone is really bringing up here. Like, that context matters. And that study in 2020, same thing. Also, screens can be tools for equity. And this is huge. Low-income families, single parents, and caregivers of kids with disabilities may rely on screens for learning, connection, and mental breaks. And I think also there are people who are being homeschooled, children being homeschooled, who are also using computers. We also saw an increase of screen time during the pandemic when there started to be school at home. And so, you know, there is like an opportunity to actually learn and connect with other people. And it can absolutely give parents a mental break. One of the main times that my kids may look at their tablets is when I'm cooking. They tend to want to stand next to me, and I don't want them by the hot stove while I am cooking. So even if I have set them up with a snack and stuff on their chair, once they are done with that snack, they are up and trying to move. But while I'm making my less than 30-minute meal, one of those major times that they have the tablet is then. because it helps. It helps me. It helps me to get cooked and cleaned and things are prepped and, put away so that then we can eat together, during that meal time. So another time is bath time. So I have two kids. They take baths separately. I swap them out. Well, during that time, during that 10 minutes that I'm getting one ready, there's 10 to 15 extra minutes of the other child watching their tablet, and then we switch. And then after that, they're put away and we're winding down for bed. And so that happens in different families, which is why it's important to understand what may work for you may not work for another family member. Or like you may have support where you've got, multiple kids and someone else is there all the time, right? To engage them in different activities. Some people don't. Also, access to information is important. You may have books and encyclopedias and like access to different types of information, things in your home, and some people don't. And so the screen, the tablet, like offers that and provides access to information. And I think that that's super important as well, especially for people who, based on their work schedules and things, you can't get to the library or you just don't have access, right? This gives you that. And that is like super important to note. Also, for many neurodivergent kids, screens provide predictability and calm for them. And I've heard that a lot from my fellow neurodivergent mamas who said that about their kids. Also, like kids who are non-speaking and adults who are non-speaking and they use an AAC device, that's a tablet. It allows them to communicate a lot more. And that means that tablet's going to be around all day as they communicate their needs and desires and have conversation. And so there is nuance here. So just keep that in mind. So when we think about harm, because what this lady was really getting at in my post is that I am harming my child. And she actually said something like the little things add up over time and I could be causing like a lot of harm to my child and that like I'm essentially going to regret it. And I'm like, no, no, lady, you went really far. But some studies say the differences in child outcomes between high and low screen users are statistically small. Like at this point, based on the studies and the information they have, the differences are really small. That doesn't mean that there's nobody at all is potentially being negatively impacted, but statistically speaking, when we think about the numbers, it's small. Also, contextual factors like parental involvement, socioeconomic status, and sleep hygiene often matter more than the screen time alone. So as you heard me, like I'm sharing my story in this, like our screen, like our routines and like our hygiene for like sleep time and things like that, they go to bed pretty quickly. Even after using the tablet, maybe a couple hours a day. Maybe a couple hours a day. When it's time for bed, right? They know what our routine is, and it's not, the routine is pretty specific and pretty rigid. Like the timing of it may, change, flex somewhere between like a 10 and 15 minute period at this age. But for the most part, when it's time to go to bed at 9, they're going to bed and they're not waking up until I wake them up the next morning at 7. So they're getting the sleep that they need. And that routine is what matters. And so again, you have to figure out what routine is going to work for you and your household and your children. But right now this works for us. And I imagine as my children continue to grow, we're going to have to adjust our like routine when it comes to sleep. But also involvement is going to matter. Always for me, like, right? For us to be able to see what is going on and involve ourselves in what our kids are doing, like when they're using screens, is just super important, for sure. And I also just want to say, like, among the experts, there is debate still. Like, everyone's not saying the exact same thing. They're not. There's debate, there's difference of opinions, and I think like understanding the full context of the research and what different experts are saying on this can help you, one, remove the shame, and then two, figure out what's going to work best for you and your situation, and not allow other people to shame you on this. Because there's no direct, true correlation based on the amount of studies and the statistics and the data that is out there. Again, no, you don't want your kids watching tablets all day. But my child watched a tablet for 30 minutes in the car while we were waiting. A woman saw 25 seconds of it and told me that I'm a bad parent. Wild. So screen time doesn't equal bad either. Like, screen time usage is going to be like complex, I think is the better way to say it, because at some point they're going to use screens. We're fine. You use a screen to vote in a lot of places, right? You use a screen. Where was I? Use a screen to check in the other day when I was getting lab work done. So it's out there. A lot more people have smartphones, and folks have laptops. And even if you go to a library or somewhere like that, that's there. Children are starting to use tablets, and they're starting to use computers more often at school. And I don't think that usage harms them. You just want to make sure that you have balance. So last thing I want to talk about is context. And I want to talk about some of the unseen variables around this topic. Maybe you're a solo parent. Maybe your child has special needs. Maybe the screen is the only time that like you get a chance to stretch and do your workout or cook or, answer some personal emails or chat with your partner for a bit or chat with your family, right? Like those are real. So I want you to honor the realities of a parenting across race, across income, across culture, across health needs, across households, across income levels, across countries, right? Across rural and urban areas. All of these things play a role in this. And I just think that that's super important. Like, just remembering that. There are a lot of people who receive a lot of judgment from this, and they are mostly single moms, and really single Black moms. Like, there has been research to show that. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Black mom. Like, that's what's out there. There's just quick judgment on it, rather than like pausing and realizing that's someone else's household. And I've seen shame and judgment for a lot of different things. I mean, there are people who are like shaming parents because their kids are like cooking and learning how to cook at like 6 or 7 because they really enjoy it. They spent time with their mom, like baking and cooking, and they love it. And there are people online judging. I've seen parents being judged because their kids are using screen time for their homeschool program. They have to for their homeschool program, right? Like, you don't know what program they're in. I've seen parents shamed for their children like doing sports at a younger age and really learning their like motor skills and how to move their body and learning about their strength. And there's shame there. And you're like, wow, you really can't win here. Parents shame because their kids only want to eat vegetables and fruits. And then the other way around where, kids have gotten picky. And like that happens at a certain age where sometimes kids just want chicken nuggets every day, right? And you see parents judge for that. And then when you go on research or you talk to some experts and doctors are like, well, that kind of happens around this age. Just keep trying, keep introducing the foods and whatever. And like, you may start to see changes over time. So just remember that. Like I say this all the time, there are tons of ways to be a good parent. There is no right way to do that. None. In my 20s and maybe early 30s, I felt like, wow, my mom, grandma, whoever, they could have done better at this. Wow, and now I'm a parent. And as my kids continue to grow, I'm like, wow, they did the best with what they had and what they knew and what they had access to in their circumstances. And as these kids grow every single day, you realize more and more, there's no perfect way to do this. Like, there is no perfect way to do this. You do the best that you can with what you have and with what you know. And every single child is different, and almost every day they can decide to be different. And if you're a toddler parent, you know exactly what I mean. Or if your kids are older, you know exactly what I mean about toddler age where you're like, I don't know what we're going to get at this point in the day. So I'm doing the best that I can with what I have. And I also tell parents, you could do everything by the book, right? Stress yourself out and do everything based on what expert opinions say. And your child could grow up to be an adult that chooses to do the absolute opposite of what you instilled in them. There's no right way to do this. And so shaming parents for doing the best they can, there's no place for it. So I think this is my last part. Last piece, I want to affirm and empower other parents, especially those who've been shamed online. You're allowed to make decisions that serve you and your family's well-being, right? To the best of your ability. You're allowed to tune out judgment and shame that doesn't feed or free you. Like, you do not have to accept that. You're allowed to use tech mindfully, even if it doesn't fit someone else's parenting model, right? Like, I know that my what happens in my house is not exactly the same as what happens in the homes of my other friends that are parents. I know it's not exactly the same. But I'm told a lot that I'm a really good mom. And I spent so much time letting people break me down, that I wasn't seeing how good of a job that I was doing. And so for me, we're not shaming. Most parents their intent is not to cause any harm. They're doing the best that they can with what they have. They're following the guidance that they're given. And sometimes some of the guidance given doesn't work for their household right now, right? It's not considering the nuances and the specifics and the details of their house. And so they have to make adjustments and do the best that they can with that. And shame does not help people. Shame is what makes people question if they should be parents. Should they be parents to their children? Maybe I just shouldn't do this. Maybe I should give up. It doesn't help. That shame has more of a negative impact on their well-being than a lot of other things. So big reminders for using your screens. Choose shows and apps that are educational and interactive. I think on my kids' tablets, there is like a child, they have their own profiles. And so based on their interests is how I put the apps and things on there. Some of them are like games and things where, they're like pressing and popping balloons, or they're looking at numbers, or maybe it's reading a book to them. Some of them is like coloring and identifying colors and language and speech. And then, of course, they've got a YouTube app on there where I've already chosen their shows and like filled it. So when they scroll, that's what they see. And again, I'm always monitoring that. I'm always taking a look at it because it's attached to my YouTube. So I literally get to go and see what they're watching. But also I'm in the same room. So I get to see what they're watching and I'm monitoring that. And then at the end of the night, you can put them away. So put them up higher, put them out of reach of your children. Try to put them in a place where, your children can't find it, especially if they're bigger children. And that way you can control the access to it when it's time for them to have it, and then, put it away when that time is up. And then continue to teach your children and tell them why. My kids are 2 and 3, and I tell them a tablet time is done. You'll get it again tomorrow. Or if they're throwing the tablet, okay, well, guess what? Tablet time is done right now. You're not using it for the rest of the day. And that's what it is. Just being sure to constantly teach them about the appropriate ways to use it, but also the appropriate ways to take care of their screens, their tablets, their computers, and things like that. Set a timer or use it as a transition activity. If that works for you, or just monitor the clock. Try co-viewing a few times a week to connect. So like sit right there with them. My son in particular will cuddle up on the couch with me, and he'll, after he's gotten his tablet, and we'll sit right there and I'll watch what he's watching. My daughter is not much of a cuddler, but I will sit next to her and we'll watch it, and she'll show me and, tell me her colors and her numbers and all that kind of thing. And so we'll watch it together. And then keep screens off during meal times and bedtime. I think we can all agree to that. Because of our bedtime routine, my phone is even down and put away. 45 minutes to an hour before we all go to bed. So even for me, I'm putting it away because that's part of our routine. And then in the morning, it's not the first thing that I pick up. I don't really pick it up until I need to cut the alarm off in the house, using my app, and we're getting ready to leave. So I have found that that is super helpful. So essentially, I just want you to know that, choosing rest doesn't make you weak. Using screens so your child can enjoy Daniel Tiger or Bluey, it doesn't make you a bad person. If that gives you a few moments to breathe, to exhale, to work out, to cook, to shower, to bathe, talk to catch up with your friends or your partner, your spouse, like, that's okay. Don't let somebody shame you. One thing I'll leave you with is just thinking about, how are you using screen time in your home, and what's working and what's stressing you out. And think about that for the adults in your home and the children in your home. And then, think about, okay, how can I change that? What can I adjust from here to cause less stress? What do we need to practice, right, when it comes to screen times? Or maybe you're realizing, oh, I'm not sitting down with them, and like co-viewing. Let me do that. Or, maybe you're realizing I don't know how much time we're actually spending. And so maybe you just start by doing what you do and like making note of how much time it is, and you can make adjustments from there. Just don't feel any shame about it. Share this episode, of course, if you know parents who are being judged, or if you learned something new, especially about the differing perspectives on expert opinions on screen time. I think it's super helpful. Like, subscribe, share. As always, sending you all tons of love. This is not a profile where you can shame parents. I will not have it. Don't. I'm glad that you all joined me today for me to just kind of bring to life something that quite literally happened this morning in the last few hours. You can follow me here. You can follow me on TikTok and also Instagram, same name, Uncaped Mama. I am going to look at here we go. Hey, everyone. Oh, so many people said hi. I love it. No, you're not about to be dragged. I'm so glad that this feels reassuring. Yes, that lady was mad about, it was a 25-second clip. It wasn't something that I like deeply edited. It was literally like actual 25 real live seconds of me. I'm starting like this. We look at my daughter in the back seat. I come back, I turn it off, I add some captions. Like, it was wild. Screen time is just to breathe and to do things for self. Yeah, but also like kids can learn from it too. So yeah, if your child is having, like, you're seeing a negative impact to them because of the screen time, particularly, I understand parents who are saying, like, when I take the tablet away, my child has a tantrum. And my son sometimes does that. Sometimes he wants it. It's usually around like when he's really tired, and he wants to get to bed early. What I do is swap it out for something else. So you can't have your tablet, but you can have your Bluey stereo. There's no screen on it. It just plays a couple of like Bluey songs. In 5 minutes, he sleeps. Right? Like, sometimes it's like, oh, you just wanted to go to bed early. So just replacing it with something else and making sure that, kids are having access to lots of things that they think is fun, and that they don't only associate fun or entertainment with screens, but also that children understand that life is not full of entertainment. Sometimes, sis, bro, you're going to be bored. That just is what it is, right? Life is not full of entertainment. Sometimes you got to do some stuff that you don't necessarily like all the time. But I also don't want us to make education and learning seem boring, because some people swing the other way completely. And they're like, oh, I don't want to do homework with them because then they're not going to be having fun with me. make homework fun, make it enjoyable, right? Encourage them, let them know when they're getting things right, let them teach you, right? There are so many ways that you can do this. And this is just from my teacher and tutor perspective with children, where like I've seen how what we say about things children pick up on. So if we make it seem like doing other activities aren't fun, kids are going to feel that way. So, you know what? Somebody else said I should be a mommy coach. But I use YouTube Kids. It is strange. So my kids use my YouTube with their own profile that I put in their age and stuff. So like YouTube recognizes that they are children. YouTube Kids is very strange. And there have been some videos we've come across that are creepy to me. I'm like, this is creepy. Now they're young, so they don't understand. But like there's videos where they've taken Pink Fong or Coco Melon or other like theme songs, and they've like shifted the color and the sound and the voice and whatever, and it's very creepy. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. There's some other videos where I'm like, yeah, these don't feel appropriate for 2-year-olds. And so that's how I'm picking up on it when I'm monitoring it. But a lot more parents are talking about YouTube Kids and how it's getting weirder. And I actually saw someone post maybe last week or the end of the week before that was like, they were seeing a lot more parents talk about YouTube Kids and how weird it has gotten, and they're super concerned. And that person was asking, has anyone done like a deep dive or any research on YouTube Kids and the algorithms and how it all works there? Because more and more parents are talking about it. So I hope that someone comes out with it, or if I can find time to kind of do some digging, throughout the next month or so, I may come on and make a video about that too. Because you want to be really careful. I like PBS Kids a lot. They have a PBS Kids like shows app, and then they have a PBS Kids games app. I think that one's really great. There's also some other like toddler games. I can't remember some off the top of my head. Duolingo has a math portion, but also kids can use that to learn different languages. There's all kinds of stuff that's out there that you can use. We also have the old school like leapfrog games that my grandma sent down for the kids like a year or two ago. I think before they were even like big enough to really use them. My kids love those. There's no screen on it. They just press buttons, and there's different sounds and letters and numbers, and they play with those too. They love those. And so those are like a really good replacement. So if you can go to like thrift stores or secondhand stores for kids and like pick up toys like that, toys that allow them to build and be creative and use their imagination, all of those things help. They really, really do. And they're really good replacements for kids, especially if you start introducing that, and it's never too late to introduce those things and make it fun. Card games, board games, those things are still amazing. So, yeah, I just use the regular YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, people keep saying it's showing like creepy stuff. I don't understand. I'm like, why is regular YouTube not showing me creepy stuff? Right? Like very few and far between, but YouTube Kids is full of it. And I don't know if it's like because people are marking that their video is for children. Maybe that's how it's making its way there. I don't know. Oh my gosh, bro, right now they love the Leapfrog tablet. Fingers crossed that they don't get over it. But there's some like really good, interesting stuff out there. My daughter also has my brother's old BlackBerry phone, and people have not used Blackberries in like 15 years. She thinks it's great. She really thinks she's talking to somebody. And then my son's godfather got them both phones. So he has a little bluey phone that, like he could put up to his ear and hear, and she has a little pink smartphone, which like, again, there's no screen, but you press buttons and it's doing songs and letters and numbers, and they both think they're talking to somebody on it. So I am grateful for this time period that we are in, that they are still loving all those little toys. I keep a few, by the way, this is a tip. I keep a few different activities in the car for the kids. So those little phones that I'm talking about. We also have some busy board books with like buckles and like just different activities that they can use. That's in the car. They've got like neck pillows in case they fall asleep, for me to put around them. And then they've got a couple of like stuffed animals and they love them. And then my son has chewies for him to like chew on. And that seems to work pretty well for us. I've got a little organizer in between their car seats, and so they can pull out what they need. I have to reorganize it every day because even though they know what cleanup is, they don't know what cleanup is in the car. So we're going to work on that. But yeah, other than that, give yourself grace. Try new things. It's not always going to be perfect. Kids are little human beings who are learning a lot all the time. And parents are also human beings who are learning a lot all the time. So give yourself grace. Don't allow any shame. I hope that this video was helpful. I will be back soon. Let me see. I actually have a recording today. So that one will come out soon. And then I have another recording. So I've got a couple recordings that are going to come out on this page and also the Parent Porch page very soon. So stay tuned for all of those. Thank you for hanging out with me. I got to get ready to record. I'll see y'all soon.